been looking for you on social media, and I end up reading this tweet of yours. Exactly 2 years ago today, I held the mangled bodies of aborted children found in our nation's capital. Their murder was sanctioned by every power structure of the American system and covered up by our elected representatives. Then I watched those photos.
Mm-hmm.
That's brutal. Like,
unbelievable, man.
that's like unbelievable.
Yeah, it's changed my life forever.
Let's get to 2022, right?
Yeah,
2022 May. Tell me the story.
Yeah, well, they were found on March 25th by a few colleagues of mine. Man, it's pretty unbelievable. So, according to most sources online, late-term abortion, third trimester abortions make up less than, or about 1% of the abortions. But there's no federal reporting laws on abortion at all, and so the real number, God knows how many. But I'll tell you this: pro-life activists go in front of these clinics to give life-saving resources to women. I mean, all of the propaganda that has been told to you about the pro-life movement, about pro-life people, is just utter lies. I mean,
What do you mean?
well, what I mean is this: like, what you're told all the time is you only care about babies before they're born. You don't do anything to help them after. I mean, these people, if you go to a Planned Parenthood and ask for diapers, if you ask for rent, if you ask for utilities, if you ask to fill your fridge up, they're going to laugh at you. But this, I mean, I can tell you, I mean, there are thousands and thousands of women. I've never known a single woman who's chosen life and not had every single resource she's need. I mean, we give cars away, we give jobs away, we give rent, we give fill freezers and groceries, and you pay utility bills.
Is that White Rose?
Not just White Rose, the entire pro-life movement. I mean, the pro-life pregnancy resource centers in this country outweigh abortion clinics like about 5 to 6 to 1. And so the amount of propaganda is crazy. But how this story led was a few friends of mine were outside providing those type of resources for women, because a lot of these women going inside feel like they are so destitute. They only have one choice, and it's abortion. So we just give resources to give them another option. Well, what's pretty well known, as if you stand in front of an abortion clinic for long enough, is that they have to get rid of the babies. Women go in with their babies and they come out without their babies, but then the babies actually end up having to go out and get disposed of eventually. And so these medical waste trucks pull up once every 1 to 3 months, sometimes a little longer. And they go in, they unload boxes from inside. They get the boxes of babies that are all packaged up, and then they unload them in dollies. They dolly them to the trucks that are waiting outside. They load all the boxes of babies up, and then they drive them to medical incinerators. So
what do they do? Do they burn the bodies?
They burn the bodies of the babies. Yeah. And so I took a picture of this happening. I was actually out, and there's a famous abortion clinic in New York. It used to be called Margaret Sanger Planned Parenthood. They took the name off in 2020 because she was a racist, and the whole Black Lives Matter thing got wind of that. But anyway, I know I'm getting along to the story here, but I took a picture of these guys going in and unloading these boxes, and I posted that on social media. My friends saw that and then saw a driver going in 2 days later to this abortion clinic. So they approached the driver and said, "Sir, like, do you know what's in those boxes?" And he had no clue. He was just, I mean, these guys get paid $20 an hour, just
for driving.
Yeah, just for driving. And so they go to liposuction. They go to all these different surgical clinics. Well, they said, no, sir, look at the sign that said abortion clinic. Those are the bodies of the children in this community. And apparently his face just visibly disturbed.
And the
And
boxes are just regular boxes.
regular boxes, but he never thought that these are, for however many years he's loading
What about the
hundreds of
smell?
thousands. Oh, well, so that's the other thing about it is the smell. Apparently, I mean, I will never forget the smell, but I've talked to subsequent waste drivers after this, and they said the smell is just unbearable at these places. But again, they're going through all different types of surgical clinics, and that smells too. But it wasn't, the babies were in formaldehyde type of solution in buckets. But so they appeal to this driver and say, "Sir, do you know what's in those boxes?" They use this opportunity to say, those are human beings. Those are members of the community. Can we give these babies a proper dignity and a funeral that they deserve? And he was kind of ambivalent over the thing. He just was like, I'm going around the corner, do whatever you want to do. I don't care. I scanned all these boxes in. So they take a box and they open it up, and there's 115 children inside.
In one box?
In one box. They were in little tiny denture cups, literally blue denture cups, bluish green denture cups. And then towards the bottom of the box, there's bigger buckets. And they open up this box, and there's 5 nearly full-term third trimester babies inside. And more than that, we'll get into the details in terms of like what federal laws we have on the books, but these babies have evidence that they've been born alive. Some of them, so there's a procedure called a partial birth abortion that's federally outlawed. So we have, and that procedure is pretty gruesome. They turn the baby into a breech delivery, and then they deliver the feet first and up into the head, and then they snip the back of the skull while it's halfway out, and then they suction the brains out. It's called a partial birth abortion, and this was happening across the nation, and they kind of got word of it because of Gosnell. I don't know if you've ever heard of Gosnell, but he was an abortionist that ended up getting life in prison because he was killing babies outside of the womb as they were coming out. But a lot of these procedures were developed because of to get around these laws of it being out and then illegal, and then so you're killing it on the way out.
So baby is coming out. You pull it by the legs.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to come by the head.
Yeah, exactly. You turn it into a breech position where its face is down, and then you deliver it up to the head, and then you have access to the head, so you can kill the baby, right?
And it's in the womb.
Yes, and it's technically still in the womb. So this is called a partial birth abortion, and that we outlawed that. Well, one of the babies there was nothing wrong with her. All she had was just a snip on the back of her skull. And you don't kill a baby. There's no other way to kill a baby. Like, how do you? So this is just overwhelming evidence that one of the babies was killed in this fashion with partial birth abortion. Another baby was still in the amniotic sac, completely undisturbed. And so that's another thing. How do you kill a baby without it not coming out alive and it being completely in an undisturbed amniotic sac? Another baby,
what do you
almost
think they did to him, for instance, for that baby?
Well, in that baby, so there's 3 different procedures that they do: chemical abortion, and a DNC, and then a labor induction. So what they probably did was just they induced labor.
Let's go through all those 3.
Yeah, sure. So they probably, in that case, just induced labor, delivered the baby out, and just let it to suffocate in its own amniotic sac, in its own amniotic fluid. That's probably what happened.
What kind of people are those?
The same type of people that would kill babies inside the womb. I mean, Paulo, this is just like, it's a crazy distinction that there's a difference between this layer of film of flesh as it's okay in here, and okay, now it's murder. Like it's crazy talk. But this is the type of rational justification. Even when I'm explaining this to you, in the back of my head, I'm going like, who is actually buying this logic that it's barbaric if an abortionist does it while its feet's out but its head's still in and cuts it, rather than 10 minutes earlier when you're chopping the arms and legs off of the child, crushing the skull and delivering it out
At least
piece
you
by
don't see
piece.
it. That's how I rationalize
Right.
it.
There you go. There you go.
But you see the whole body. You see
Yeah.
the neck. The head stays in the woman's body, and you just
Yeah. And so it changed my life. We were called in to help with this whole thing. My wife and I, there was 4 activists who uncovered these children. My wife and I, and then this girl, Teresa, and Lauren. And so it became somewhat of a national news story. But it was, I mean, we could go into the crazy.
let's go. That's why we're here.
So, yeah.
So you found the
Well,
bodies.
so we found these bodies. We're going through all of these babies because, not in 10, 15 years, 20 years almost, has anybody ever seen what's in these boxes. So you think of the hundreds and thousands of boxes every day that are being loaded into medical incinerators, and no one's ever seen what's inside of these boxes. We open these boxes, and the first one out of thousands that have been put in, there happens to be not only nearly full-term babies inside, but there's evidence of federal crimes that have been committed against these babies. So it became at first like, let's try to take photos of these to show the world. But then as we're taking photos of them, it became apparent that, wow, there's something more here. And actually Gosnell type of crimes have been committed potentially against these babies. And we need to turn these children over to the police. So
When I was watching the video that you were
handling
holding this baby, so for me the first reaction was, it's almost like I was watching the X-Files from the 1990s, and they were showing like the aliens. It appeared surreal. It's
Oh, that's
you can't
exactly
acknowledge
how
that
it
that's
felt.
a human being.
It's exactly how it felt. It felt
Like
cold
an
and
alien.
sterile and just like, I can't believe this is happening. I mean, and the first people asked me what it felt like when the lid was opened on those babies, it was just, my heart, brother, was just filled with utter rage as a man that anybody could do this to a precious little child. Not to mention, we're doing this to 3,000 children a single day in America. 1 million children a year are either getting chemically poisoned to death or violently dismembered inside the very place that they should be most protected. The safest place in the world has become a death chamber. A brutal death chamber for these babies. Unconscionable. I will never be the same. I mean, that was the first thing that kind of exited my brain was, wow, I am never going to recover from this.
So I'm not sure whether YouTube's not gonna ban this if I show the videos and the photos. So I just put the link of AJ's Instagram. Sure. Click the link and watch the videos yourself. You're gonna be astonished, like amazed.
Yeah. Well, and so we made plans. We contacted lawyers because we didn't know what to do. We made plans to turn these babies into the DCPD. They said, well, we'll come there, and so we made plans for these babies to be picked up. Well,
that's a kind of a crime scene. You found minimum five dead bodies.
Yes. Well, so and that was the crazy thing. So we promised this driver that we would give these babies a proper burial. So we took all of the first and second trimester babies that didn't have that didn't have evidence of crimes, and then we drove them to a priest to be buried. Well, that was the crazy thing about it, was it's like, okay, wait, am I going to get in trouble for this? Because on one hand, they're trash, right? To be medically disposed of. But then when it's convenient for the other side, suddenly they're human bodies and human remains that I have. And suddenly it's actually babies. So I'm like, am I going to be arrested for going and giving these babies a proper burial for, I don't know, tampering with a corpse?
Yeah.
Or is it just taking out trash? Right. And so it's part of the hypocrisy of the other side's position on this. But 110 babies were delivered and had a proper burial, funeral mass, and a ceremony for those children. Every single one of the 115 babies were named. And then the 5 babies were turned to the DCPD. Well, what's crazy about this, brother, is when we made plans for them to pick them up. But it took almost 24 hours. I'm like, where are these people? So who shows up to pick up these babies is not the DCPD, but the FBI to pick up the girl who found them, swooped her up. And then they brought a whole host of media with them. And this just shows the media corruption. The whole host of media are now running a story. Not that we found these babies and are turning them into the police, but the FBI is raiding the home of a pro-life lunatic who's harboring fetuses in her basement.
There's no way.
Yes. This is the story that they run. So not that we turned them in, but that they were tipped off and arrived on scene because a pro-life extremist was harboring fetuses, and they needed to prosecute her for harboring fetuses in her headlines, House of Horrors, all this stuff. And all the media is turned on these pro-life activists for having them in their possession instead of the fact that this abortion clinic had them in their refrigerator for 3 months before they turn them over to the medical waste distributor. By the way, the medical waste distributor on their the medical waste facility, they boast online of renewable energy because they take the combustion that they create for all of the mass that they burn. They use that combustion and then they create electricity from the combustion and call it renewable energy.
That's fact.
Yes. Yeah. So if you go on to, it's Curtis Bay Energy Company. And what's crazy, they had to change their name because the slogan on their thing was from womb to tomb. Medical waste.
No way.
Yes.
Medical waste. Womb to tomb.
Medical waste, renewable medical waste facility from womb to tomb. After this whole thing sparked, and they were outed because they boast about taking the combustion and using it into renewable energy and creating electricity for the DC Baltimore area. So from womb to tomb, they're admitting that they're actually taking renewable energy and using the bodies of babies of the abortion facilities to create renewable energy. It's like, what's that old movie? Oh man, there was like Soylent Green. Did you ever see that movie? Oh yeah, there's an old American movie called Soylent Green. But that was one of the things that we found out during this whole thing that was pretty wild too. And
these are the only things that you found out. How many didn't you?
Oh yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
So the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, tip of the iceberg. Oh yeah. We'll never know what's actually going on behind these closed doors, behind these facilities, because abortion is so unregulated, especially compared to, think about your wastewater, how many regulations are on just this water that we're drinking. There's zero. And even what we found out is even when you catch these people red-handed, overwhelming evidence, a baby in its undisturbed amniotic sac, a full-term child with nothing wrong with it. Another one with the back of its skull snipped out as a respiratory. I was a neonatal respiratory therapist. I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, every single one of those children were at ages where they would have survived with little to zero help at all from me as a person who my job was to put these babies on ventilators or provide for them their respiratory system.
You saw my son. So he was born at 8 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
8
wow.
months.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. So, I mean, how many weeks is that? 8 months. That's
He was over 36.
36 weeks. Yeah. 36 weeks. Yeah. So, I mean, at that age, one of the babies was 36 weeks. I think it was Angel, or not Angel. Sorry. It was Holly. We named Holly, Angel, Phoenix, Harriet, and Christopher X were the 5 babies that we named.
So FBI comes in, takes the body.
They takes the girl, swoops her up, and then sends the DC medical examiner in to the morgue, basically the coroner, to get the boxes of these babies. And then we released all the footage of the children, the photos, videos of me holding the babies, showing everything, and it shocked the world. But then immediately this whole cover-up story. So it didn't even take DCPD and the mayor of DC, Mayor Muriel Bowser, they did a press conference less than 24 hours later with the chief of police and the mayor of DC saying, nothing to see here. There will be no investigation. There'll be no autopsy. And every single one of these babies were aborted at this abortion clinic, and were all aborted legally according to DC law, which also shocked the world because people didn't think that this was even legal. I mean, there's so much. Half of my job as a pro-life activist is just to convince people that this actually happens, because
They don't believe you.
up to this, they thought this was just pure conspiracy theory.
Yeah, just ignorant.
Yeah,
Just not
totally. And not to mention that if you look at the reasoning if you go to their own research data on this, that they will admit that most of late-term abortions are all elective. They're not for medical reasons. They're for the same reasons why you would a normal woman would abort any other child during any other gestational age. Was it family problems? She's not getting along with her boyfriend, or she didn't have the financial reasons, or some of these women are so in such bad shape in their health and so obese they don't even know they're pregnant. So all the reasons why women abort at this later gestational age are the same reasons why they abort at early age. And so much propaganda from the other side is shown that there is not a single shred of evidence to prove that these babies are aborted for medical reasons whatsoever, purely for elective procedures. Obviously, there are exceptions to that, but the vast majority of them are for elective reasons as to why they're aborted.
What happens next? What's now?
So we able to garner enough of a congressional support on this. Chip Roy has been amazing. Marjorie Taylor Greene covered it. Anna Luna covered it. Ted Cruz. A lot of people got behind this and showed the images of these babies and tried to get enough pressure, at least, to try to get a congressional hearing. It hasn't really happened. But it's been just one of those things that Congress has just brushed kind of under the rug and just gave it a little bit of airtime for a while, but nothing ever happens, right? No investigation has happened. We were able to get enough pressure to keep the babies at the DC medical examiner's office. So they're still on ice there over 2 years later now. And maybe if we get, Republican kind of controlled.
So the babies are still there for 2 years now.
Yep. On ice.
You're a man of God, right?
I am.
That's horrible for the bodies, for the soul.
100%.
You have to be buried right away.
They have to
You've got 40 days.
I mean, it's out of our hands now. I want to get justice for these children. I want there to be an investigation. I want there to be an autopsy on these babies. I want the guy who killed them, Cesare Santangelo, to suffer jail time and prosecution for what he's done.
Oh, you found the doctor.
Oh yeah, no, we know who the doctor is. He's right. These babies were found right outside of the clinic, so it was. There's only one abortionist at this facility. His name is Cesare Santangelo. It's in Georgetown, right across the street from the university, and that's the posh late-term abortion clinic for all of the dignitaries, all of the, if any of their kids or grandkids have an issue and they need to get rid of their child or have an abortion, that's the abortion they go to, because he's the man around DC, and he's protected like a high priest of progressivism. So yeah, his name is Cesare Santangelo. He's been nicknamed the Butcher of DC, and it's
Only God knows how
disgusting.
many did he kill.
Oh, unbelievable amounts. And by the way, so there's an organization I used to work for called Live Action. Well, Live Action had 2 different undercover videos of him, of women going in and wearing a camera in late term saying, hey, I'm a little unsure whether I should do this, and like what's going to happen to my baby, or what if my baby's born alive. He's saying on camera, that if your baby is born alive, that he won't do anything to help it. One. Another woman, he said he wouldn't even talk to her unless her pants were down and she had 2 sedatives already in her system. So these are the type of scumbags that are representing the medical establishment, quote unquote, of the abortion industry.